Tonight, we leave behind the soft glow of electric lights and the hum of modern machinery. Tonight, we travel back, far back, into the deep, silent heart of a medieval winter. Imagine, if you will, that you are no longer in the comfort of the 21st century. Instead, you are a serf, a peasant living in the year 1350, somewhere in the rural heartlands of northern Europe. The sun has long since dipped below the horizon, taking with it the last fleeting memories of warmth. The world outside is locked in iron and frost, a silent expanse of snow that swallows sound and light alike. You are tired. Your bones ache with a dull, throbbing rhythm that speaks of a day spent laboring in frozen fields, repairing fences that the wind insists on tearing down, and tending to animals that are as cold and hungry as you are. But the work is done for now. The darkness has claimed the land, and with it comes the only true respite you know, the long, complicated, and essential task of sleeping through a medieval winter night. This is not a story of knights in shining armor or kings in high castles feasting by roaring fires. This is a story of endurance. This is a story of the quiet, invisible battle against the cold that defines your existence. You are standing inside your home, a small, low-roofed structure that feels less like a house and more like a hollowed-out mound of earth and wood. The air inside is thick, heavy with a complex perfume that you have known since birth, the scent of wood smoke, old wool, drying herbs, packed earth, and the pungent, musky odor of livestock. It is not a fresh smell, but it is the smell of survival. It is the smell of safety. Before you can even think of lying down, you must understand the space that holds you. To the modern mind, this might seem like a hovel, a place of misery, but to you, tonight, this is a fortress. The walls around you are not stone or brick. They are wattle and daub, a woven lattice of hazel or willow sticks, plastered over with a mixture of mud, clay, straw, and animal dung. It sounds primitive, and perhaps it is, but as the wind begins to pick up outside, rising from a whisper to a low moan, you appreciate the thickness of these walls. They are uneven, lumpy, and cracked in places where the winter air has dried the mud too quickly, but they are the only thing standing between you and a frost that can kill a man before morning. You run a hand along the wall near where you will sleep. It feels cool to the touch, rough and gritty, but it does not bite your skin like the air outside. It is a barrier, imperfect but vital. The floor beneath your feet is not wood, nor is it tile. It is the earth itself, packed down by generations of feet, your parents, their parents, and now yours. The dirt floor has become almost as hard as concrete. In the summer, this floor offers a welcome coolness, a relief from the heat of the harvest. But now, in the depths of winter, the ground is a traitor. It acts as a massive heat sink, eagerly draining warmth from anything that touches it. The cold doesn't just come from the air, it seeps up from below, ancient and patient, waiting to settle into your joints. You can feel it even through the thick leather of your shoes, a creeping numbness that starts at the soles of your feet and slowly works its way up your ankles. This is why you never sleep directly on the ground. To do so would be to invite sickness, or worse. You look towards the center of the room. There is no grand fireplace with a chimney to carry the smoke away. Instead, there is a central hearth, a shallow depression in the floor lined with stones that have been blackened by decades of fire. The fire is dying now, intentionally banked down for the night. A few logs glow with a deep, sullen red heat, pulsed by the occasional breath of a draft. Above the fire, the air is hazy. A thick layer of smoke hangs in the rafters, trapped by the roof. This smoke is a constant companion in your life. It stings your eyes if you stand too tall. It scratches at the back of your throat, but it is also a blanket. The smoke helps trap what little heat remains in the room, and over the years, the soot has coated the thatch of the roof, hardening it, waterproofing it, and driving away the insects that would otherwise devour your shelter. It is an uncomfortable blessing, a trade-off between breathable air and retained warmth. You move towards your sleeping area. Do not expect a bed frame. Do not look for a soft mattress filled with feathers or foam. Your bed is a pile. It is a carefully constructed mound of straw, dried ferns, and perhaps some heather, gathered from the commons before the snow fell. This is your pallet. To the uninitiated, it looks like a pile of refuse on the floor. To you, it is a masterpiece of insulation. Straw is hollow, it traps air. By piling it thick, you create a barrier between your body and the freezing earth. But straw is not static. Over the weeks of winter, it breaks down. It gets crushed under the weight of bodies, turning from fluffy gold to a flat, dusty gray mat. Tonight, you notice the straw is getting thin. You use your foot to kick the edges inward, trying to fluff it up, trying to create a pocket that will hold your shape. It rustles dryly, a sound like dead leaves skittering on stone. Dust motes dance in the fading light of the embers, settling on your clothes, on your skin, in your hair. This dust is part of you now. You sit down heavily on the straw. The sensation is not soft, but it is yielding. It shifts to accommodate your weight. You do not undress. This is a crucial detail of medieval sleep, specifically in the winter. The modern ritual of changing into pajamas, of stripping away the day's clothes to slip between cool sheets, would be madness here. To remove your clothing is to surrender the heat you have hoarded in your layers all day. You are wearing a linen undertunic, sitting directly against your skin. Over that, a woolen tunic, perhaps two if you are fortunate. On your legs, hose made of cut cloth, held up by a belt, and over it all, a heavy woolen cloak or blanket, perhaps patched a dozen times, heavy with the grease of unwashed wool and the dirt of the fields. This clothing is your second skin. It is scratchy, yes. The wool bites at your neck and wrists. It smells of sweat and wood smoke. But wool has a magical property. It keeps you warm even when it is damp. And everything here is damp. The air in the hut is humid, moist from the breath of the family, from the cooking pot, from the damp earth floor. Linen would cling cold and clammy to your skin, but wool maintains a pocket of dry warmth. You loosen your belt, allowing your blood to flow more freely to your legs, but you keep your tunic tight around your chest. You pull your hood up over your head. Much of your body heat escapes through your scalp, and on a night like this, you cannot afford to lose a single degree. The hood creates a small, private world, muffling the sounds of the room, keeping your ears warm against the drafts that inevitably snake through the woven walls. As you settle, you become aware that you are not alone. This is not a private bedroom. Privacy is a luxury for the very rich, and even they rarely have it. Here, sleep is a communal activity. It has to be. A single body generates only so much heat. 5 bodies huddled together generate a furnace. You are sharing this small space with your entire family. Parents, children, perhaps an aunt or a grandparent. But it is not just humans. Look into the shadows at the far end of the hut. You see the large, dark shapes of cows, perhaps a few sheep or a pig. In the harshest winters, the livestock are brought inside, separated from the living area by a flimsy wooden partition, or sometimes nothing at all. This is not because you love them as pets, though you depend on them for your life. It is because a dead cow provides no milk and pulls no plow, and crucially, a live cow is a massive living radiator. You can hear them shifting in the straw, the heavy rhythmic sound of a cow chewing its cud, the occasional soft bleat of a sheep. The smell is strong, manure and wet fur mixing with the smoke, but you hardly notice it. In fact, the smell is reassuring. It means the animals are alive. It means there is more heat in this room than the dying fire could ever provide. You can feel the warmth radiating from their large bodies, raising the temperature of the hut by a few critical degrees. In a world without central heating, a cow in the living room is not a nuisance. It is a technology. It is survival. You lie back, pulling your cloak tightly around you. You curl your knees up to your chest, assuming the fetal position. This is instinctual. You minimize your surface area, protecting your core organs, keeping your warmth centered. You tuck your cold hands between your thighs or under your armpits. Your family settles around you. There is a hierarchy to this arrangement, unspoken but strictly followed. The youngest children and the oldest elders are placed in the middle of the group, shielded from the drafts on both sides, warmed by the bodies of the stronger adults who sleep on the edges. You might be on the edge tonight. You feel the difference immediately. One side of you is pressed against the warmth of another person, a solid breathing wall of heat. The other side faces the room, faces the dark, faces the invisible currents of cold air that drift down from the roof. The cold finds the gaps. It always does. You feel a thin ribbon of icy air slide across your cheek, seeking entry on the neck of your tunic. You adjust your hood, bury your face into the rough wool of your cloak. You breathe through the fabric. The air inside the hut is cold enough that your breath would fog if they were light to see it. By breathing through the wool, you capture some of the moisture and heat from your exhalation, warming the fabric, which in turn warms the next breath you take. It is a small unconscious trick, one of 100 tiny adjustments you make without thinking. Lying there, waiting for sleep, your mind begins to drift, but your senses remain sharp. This is the nature of sleep in a time of danger. You are not safe behind locked doors and security systems. The door to the hut is a heavy wooden board, barred from the inside, but a determined wolf or a desperate thief could breach it. And so part of you remains listening. You listen to the wind scratching the thatch like fingernails. You listen to the settle of the timber frame as the wood contracts in the dropping temperature. You listen to the breathing of your family, a chaotic chorus of inhales and exhales that slowly begins to synchronize as sleep takes hold. There is a theory among historians that people in your time slept differently than we do today. They call it segmented sleep or biphasic sleep. The idea is that the winter night is too long, sometimes 14 hours of darkness, to sleep through in one go. So you sleep in 2 shifts. You might sleep deeply for 4 hours, the first sleep, and then wake up in the dead of night. For an hour or two, you might lie awake in the dark. You might tend the fire, pray, whisper to your spouse, or simply lie in a meditative state, half awake, half dreaming, listening to the world. Then you would fall back into a second sleep until dawn. As you lie here now, feeling the heaviness of the day's labor pull at your muscles, you wonder if tonight will be one of those nights. Will you wake when the fire is just ash? Will you lie in the absolute, suffocating darkness of the medieval night, waiting for the first gray light of dawn? For now, the goal is simply to drift off. But comfort is elusive. The straw pokes through your tunic. Your hip bone digs into the hard earth beneath the bedding. Your feet are still numb blocks of ice. You rub them together, creating a friction that provides a ghostly spark of heat. You know that if you don't warm your feet, you will not sleep. It is a race between exhaustion and discomfort. Exhaustion usually wins, but it takes time. You focus on the sound of the cow breathing. In, out. Heavy, slow. It is a lullaby of biology. It anchors you. The darkness is absolute. There is no light pollution, no street lamps, no ambient glow from a city. When the fire dies down to embers, The blackness is so complete it feels heavy, pressing against your eyelids. In this dark, your imagination can be an enemy. Every creak of the roof sounds like a footstep. Every howl of the wind sounds like a voice. Folklore and superstition are not just stories to you. They are explanations for the things you cannot see. You whisper a quick prayer, a few words of Latin that you may not fully understand, but which hold power because they have been spoken by your ancestors for centuries. You make the sign of the cross in the dark, a small physical movement under your cloak. It is a spiritual shield to match the physical shield of your walls. As your breathing slows, you begin to enter that strange borderland between wakefulness and sleep. The cold seems to retreat slightly, or perhaps your body has simply stopped fighting it and started managing it. Your heart rate drops. The shivering, which had threatened to start earlier, subsides. You are a self-contained unit of heat, preserving life in a frozen landscape. You think about the morning. You think about the tasks that await. The cows will need milking. The ice will need to be broken on the trough. The fire will need to be coaxed back to life from the ashes, a task that requires patience and skill. If the fire goes out completely, it is a disaster. You will have to borrow coals from a neighbor, walking through the snow with a pot, admitting your failure. You resolve to wake early, before the others, to tend the hearth. But for now, there is only the straw, the wool, the smoke, and the dark. You feel the person next to you twitch in their sleep, dreaming perhaps of summer or of food. Hunger is another bedfellow. Winter rations are thin. You ate pottage tonight, a thick, grain-based stew, perhaps flavored with onions or a bit of salt pork if you were lucky. It fills the belly, but it burns off quickly in the cold. You go to sleep with a hollow space inside you, a familiar sensation that you have learned to ignore. You do not dream of feasts, that would be cruel. You dream of simple things. You dream of the sun on your face. You dream of green grass. The night deepens. The wind outside changes pitch, whistling through the eaves. A draft catches the smoke in the room, swirling it around. You cough, a dry, rasping sound, and turn your head. Others cough too. It is the soundtrack of winter, a chorus of lungs fighting against smoke and cold air. But no one wakes fully. To wake is to feel the cold. So you stay in the gray haze of slumber, holding on to the night. This is your reality. It is hard, it is gritty, and it is uncomfortable. But as you finally slip under the surface of consciousness, there is a strange peace in it. You are sheltered, you are warm enough, you are alive. And in 1350, on a freezing winter night, that is a victory. The hours pass, unmarked by clocks, measured only by the slow, rhythmic breathing of the household and the settling of the embers in the hearth. You are now deep within the first sleep, that heavy initial slumber that claims the exhausted body. Outside, the medieval winter has tightened its grip. The temperature has dropped further, turning the moisture in the air into microscopic needles of frost. The wind has shifted, no longer moaning but pressing against the north wall with a steady, relentless weight. But you do not feel this. Not yet. You are suspended in the darkness, a void where the only reality is the rough texture of wool against your cheek and the faint earthy smell of the straw beneath you. In this state, the hardships of peasant life, the taxes owed to the Lord, the failing crop, the ache in your back, dissolve into nothingness. There is only the dark and the warmth and the collective heartbeat of your home. But then something shifts. A log in the hearth settles with a soft, audible crack, sending a tiny shower of sparks dying into the ash. Or perhaps a cow stamps a hoof in the straw. Or maybe it's simply the internal rhythm of your own body, tuned to an ancient cycle long forgotten by the modern world. Your eyes open. You are awake. This is not insomnia. This is not a disorder. This is the watch. In the medieval world, the night is not a single unbroken block of time. It is divided. You have completed your first sleep, and now, in the deepest, blackest pit of the night, you enter a period of wakefulness that belongs entirely to you. It is pitch black. The darkness is so total that if you hold your hand up in front of your face, you cannot see it. You can only feel the cold air touching your skin. This darkness has a physical weight. It presses against your eyes, thick and velvety. For a moment, you lie perfectly still, orienting yourself. You listen. The hut is a symphony of small, intimate sounds. To your left, your spouse breathes with a heavy, steady rhythm. To your right, a child murmurs in a dream, shifting under the shared blanket. From the corner, the rhythmic chewing of the livestock has stopped. They too are resting, their large lungs expelling air that keeps the room just above freezing. You slide your arm out from under the warm pile of covers. The air hits your skin like cold water. It is shocking, immediate, and brutal. You do not recoil, you are used to this. You sit up slowly, wrapping your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The straw rustles loudly in the silence, a sound that seems deafening to your ears, but no one else stirs. They are deep in their own rest, or perhaps lying awake just like you, staring into the void, finding peace in the quiet. This hour of wakefulness is precious. In a life defined by hard labor and constant noise, this is the only time you have to think. You carefully stand up, your feet finding the familiar, uneven surface of the packed earth floor. You move by memory. You know exactly where the wooden stool is. You know where the water bucket stands. You creep towards the hearth. The fire is your responsibility tonight. If it dies completely, the morning will be a misery of striking flint and blowing on cold tinder with numb lips. You kneel by the ash. It radiates a faint, dying heat, like the memory of a summer day. Taking an iron poker, or perhaps just a green stick, you gently disturb the gray mound of ash. Deep inside, buried like a treasure, a few coals still glow a dull, angry orange. You feed them, not a log, that would burn too fast, but a piece of dried turf or a small knot of hardwood that burns slow and hot. You cover it back up. You are banking the fire, putting it to sleep so it can wake with you. While you are up, you check the animals. You move to the end of the hut where the smell is stronger, ammoniac and musky. You run a hand along the flank of the cow. Her coat is coarse and oily, but she is incredibly warm. She shifts her weight, acknowledging your presence with a low, grumbling exhale. You check the latch on the door. It is holding. The wind rattles the wood, testing your defenses, but the bar is solid. You are safe. This simple knowledge that the door is barred, the fire is alive, and the animals are calm brings a profound sense of satisfaction. It is a primitive, deep-rooted comfort that modern security systems cannot replicate. You are the guardian of this small, fragile world. You return to the bed. The spot where you lay is still warm, retaining the heat of your body. You slip back in, shivering slightly as your cold skin touches the warm wool. You draw your knees up, tucking your feet in. You do not go back to sleep immediately. This is the time for the watch. In this quiet interval, medieval people did many things. Some prayed, their lips moving silently in the dark, reciting pater nosters for the souls of the dead or for a good harvest. Others planned the day ahead, mentally repairing a fence or calculating how much grain was left in the store. And for many, this was a time of intimacy. In the crowded, communal space of the peasant hut, privacy was non-existent during the day. But here, under the cover of absolute darkness, While the children and elders slept the heavy sleep of the exhausted, couples found their only moments of connection. A whispered word, a touch in the dark, a shared warmth that went beyond mere survival. It was a secret world hidden within the winter night. Slowly, the cold begins to seep back into your awareness. The brief activity has cooled your blood. You burrow deeper into the straw, pressing closer to the bodies around you. The thoughts that were crisp and clear a moment ago begin to blur. The prayer trails off unfinished. The mental list of chores dissolves. You are drifting towards the second sleep. This sleep is different from the first. It is lighter, filled with dreams. The medieval mind saw dreams not as random neuron firings, but as messages, as visions, or sometimes as temptations. Tonight, your dreams are simple. You dream of the sun. You dream of a fire that never goes out. You dream of a feast where the bread is white and soft and the meat is plentiful. These are the dreams of the body, crying out for what it lacks. The night wears on. Outside, the snow has stopped falling. The clouds have parted, revealing a moon that hangs cold and indifferent over the frozen landscape. The temperature plummets to its lowest point, the wolf hour, the time just before dawn when the life force is said to be at its weakest. Inside the hut, the cold creates a new layer of reality. Frost begins to form on the inside of the door. The moisture in the air, from so many breathing lungs, condenses on the cold spots of the walls, turning the wattle and daubs slick with ice. You do not see this, but you feel the change in the air quality. It becomes sharper, thinner. Every breath you take feels like inhaling glass dust. You pull the blanket entirely over your head, creating a tent, trapping your breath to create a tiny, humid microclimate. It is stuffy, but it is warm. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster crows. It is early, too early. The sun is still hours away from the horizon, but the animal senses the shift in the earth, the subtle turning towards morning. You hear it, but you do not move. You cling to the last fragments of the second sleep. This is the most seductive sleep, the one that begs you to stay, to ignore the coming day. Your body feels heavy, as if it is turned to lead. The straw, which was so uncomfortable hours ago, now feels like it has molded perfectly to your form. You are a part of the bed now. But the rhythm of the village cannot be ignored. You hear the first sounds of the waking world. A dog barks, sharp and clear in the frozen air. The sound of an axe splitting wood echoes from a neighbor's yard, someone who has risen before you. Inside your own hut, the baby begins to fuss, a small rhythmic cry that demands attention. The spell of the night is breaking. The darkness is no longer velvety, it is gray. Light is seeping in, not through windows, you have only small shuttered openings, but through the cracks in the walls and the roof. It is a weak, watery light, barely strong enough to illuminate the dust motes, but it changes everything. It reveals the soot on the rafters, the damp patches on the floor, the rough texture of your blanket. The magic of the dark recedes, leaving only the stark reality of poverty and cold. You groan, a sound that is half protest, half acceptance. You push the heavy wool covers away. The cold of the morning is different from the cold of the night. It is active, demanding. It bites at your exposed face. You sit up, rubbing your hands over your face, feeling the grit of sleep and soot in your eyes. You look around. The others are stirring. A mound of blankets shifts, and a head emerges, hair tousled, breath fogging. There is no good morning, no cheerful greeting, words or energy. There is just a shared look, a nod of acknowledgement. You have all survived another night. The winter did not take you. You stand up. Your joints pop and crack stiff from the cold and the hard floor. You are wearing the same clothes you slept in, the same clothes you worked in yesterday, and the same clothes you will work in today. There is no shower to wake you up, no fresh change of linen. You simply tighten your belt, splash a little icy water from the bucket onto your face to shock the sleep away, and move to the hearth. This is the critical moment. You kneel by the ashes again. You say a silent prayer to the household spirits or to the saints as you rake back the gray dust. Did the coal survive? A tiny glowing heart of red remains. Relief washes over you. You blow on it gently, feeding it a handful of dried straw. The straw smokes, then catches with a sudden cheerful whoosh. Yellow light floods the center of the room, pushing back the gray dawn. You add small twigs, then a larger log. The shadows dance on the walls. The smell of fresh wood smoke replaces the stale air of the night. The heat hits your face, and for the first time in 12 hours, you feel a true, active warmth. The day has begun. The cows must be milked. The porridge must be cooked. The ice must be broken. The relentless wheel of medieval life begins to turn once more. But as you stand there, warming your hands by the growing fire, listening to the sounds of your family rising around you, you carry the night with you. You carry the memory of the shared warmth, the quiet intimacy of the watch, and the deep, enduring resilience of the human body. You, the modern listener, lying in your soft bed with your climate-controlled room and your lightweight duvet, might pity this existence. It seems hard, it seems unforgiving, and it is. But as you drift off to sleep tonight, think of the surf in 1350. Think of the absolute silence of a world without engines. Think of the profound darkness that allowed the stars to burn with a fire you will never see. Think of the comfort of a heavy woolen cloak on a freezing night. There is a simplicity there, a connection to the fundamental rhythms of the earth that we have lost. So let your own breathing slow down. Let your own muscles relax. Imagine the weight of a heavy woolen blanket pressing you down, keeping you safe. Imagine the smell of wood smoke and the sound of the wind outside, unable to reach you. You are warm. You are sheltered. The night is yours to journey through, just as they did centuries ago. The darkness is not empty. It is a blanket. Pull it up to your chin, close your eyes, and sleep.